Okay, hello everyone. Today we're going to be covering the Conic section for Calc 3. Let me just get this up on my tablet real quick. But as I'm doing that, I want you guys to think about what these could be, right? So is this a circle, hyperbola, or parabola, right? Either way, whatever it is, we do need to find its foci, center, vertices, asymptotes. We need to find a line formation. Okay. So, general idea is try to group the common variables together. So, if you look for A, we're going to do, by the way, we're going to do A completely in blue here. So, we'll see that we have x, right, x squared plus 4x, and then plus y squared equals 12. So, if I just want to group the x's together, then I could go like this, right, x plus 4. Although that's really not that useful. What you really want to do is get x squared plus 4x into a factorable way. So what I mean, I want you guys to think about it. How can we write this as a factor pair? So maybe x plus 2. So if you guys don't know how to complete the square, that's important. But I'm going to teach you guys a method without completing the square. You may think this is maybe easier or harder, but either way I will teach it. Okay, so think about x plus 2 squared. Right? And by the way, these are not equal, right? X plus 2 squared, what does that turn out? It turns out to be x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4. So it's really close. It's actually x squared plus 4x plus 4. But we only want x squared plus 4x. So then we go back here and then we go x plus 2 squared minus 4. Put a bracket around that. And then that is exactly what we had as x squared plus 4x. So that's what I mean. Now we can use this and input this guy into here. Okay, and that works out really nice. So if you go back up to the top, and we see now we can write this as what? X plus 2 squared minus 4 plus y squared. Now we could write it as y squared regular, or you could write it as y plus 0 squared. There's really no point doing that, but for this first example, I will do it just for your guys' sake to make a better visual understanding of what's about to happen. So if you guys look at this right now, all this information right here is now a lot more useful than it was over here. Okay, and all I did was technically complete the square. Okay. Now let me focus on this part. Okay. So I want the negative 4 to be on the other side. So if I add the negative 4 on the other side, it becomes a 16, right? So I will start writing over here, x squared plus, x plus 2 squared plus y squared is equal to 16. And 16 itself is equal to 4 squared. So look at that. We have x plus 2 squared plus y squared is equal to 4 squared. Now I'm going to show you guys my special cheat sheet here. And by the way, you can find this online to search it up. You'll find these 100% online. Type in Conic section online, circle, parabola, ellipse, hyperbola. You'll find it. And now if we look at this, right, doesn't this look kind of like this? So it looks like we have a circle. Like we don't have anything divided and equals to 1. We don't have anything divided and added equals to 1. And it's not a parabola for sure, at least. So we know that we have some sort of circle. So this looks like a circle, but it's a circle that's shifted. So if I was to actually draw this, here's our circle. And then if I draw it here, it's not at 0, 0. It's actually at negative 2, 0, with the radius 4. Okay, so again, here you go. We'll write this as x plus, for this first example, I'm going to go slow on purpose, squared plus y. And note, I will actually even go like this as well. Negative and negative. Right, because that's usually the formula we use. And then this will be negative, but then we have a 0 here. And 4 squared. So I'm just rewriting this just to make it look easier. Now I'm going to bring back the sheet. And if you guys can see, like, doesn't that match its description very well, right? Where h is what? h is -2 in our case, and k is 0. So h comma k is equal to -2 and 0. So if you couldn't read that like how I could earlier, you could try to always adjust it to look exactly like the formula sheet. Okay, so that's the general idea. And if you go back to the formula sheet, then you could see here, well, what is this guy, right? It's just a circle. So what else does a circle really have to it? There's not much that a circle has to it, to be honest. Right? It's just really that. Okay. So we found its center, and that's really all we needed to do actually for a circle. And we know its radius as well. So we'll write circle radius 4. Right? So it's centered at -2, 0, and it's a circle with a radius 4. So that's the first part done. Okay, for this next part, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the whole part B in green. Okay. So y squared minus 4x plus 16x again. We'll write this as y squared, and then we'll note this as what? We have 4x plus 16x. And this is the chunk we want to focus on, which is equal to 24. So again, my trick is we just think about this guy, and 16x and 4x. Well, why don't we just real quick factor out a -4, and then we get, what do we get? We get x, right, minus 4. And one second, I realized I dropped the square here. Right, so if we factor out the -4, this is exactly what we get. And look, this whole guy right here is equal to this guy right here. Just factor out the -4, and now we can also drop this guy back down, y squared, and equals 24. Now, again, I say you just want to focus on this part, because it's going to make your life easier. So think about well, something just broke outside. Think about this combination here. So maybe x minus 2, right? Would that lead to something? X minus 2, x plus 2, right? Maybe this leads to something. Now, if this leads to something, let's just check. X squared minus 2x, no, doesn't work, right? So the actual combination, it must be x minus 2 again. Right, so x minus 2 squared. So we found the factorable square, but it's not exactly equal. Because we get, if we do this, we get x squared minus 4x plus 4. But we don't want a plus 4. Okay, so we got to kind of adapt the situation here. So let's go up here real quick. So originally we have -4 x squared minus 4x. Well, that's the same thing, right? If we write this as -4, and then the x squared minus 4x, what if we write it like this? X minus 2 squared minus 4. Well, I'm arguing that over here, since I made this algebraic manipulation, that this is going to be the same thing as this. Let's check. Let's actually do this real quick. Well, actually, let's not completely check. This will just be -4 x minus 2 squared plus 16, and then this will be equal to, we'll completely check here. We have x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus 16, and that is equal to -4x squared minus, then plus 16x minus 16 plus 16. 16s can go away. And look at that guy. That's exactly what we had there. Okay. So the trick is, again, just try to group things. And then once you group things, see what, if you have to factor out a number, a constant, then do that. And then if you don't know how to complete the square, like obviously you can do this maybe a little bit faster if you know how to complete the square. This is just a way to say completing the square a different way, if you don't remember. It's just this idea of algebraic manipulation and logic. That's all I'm trying to push onto you guys. Okay, so now that we know that this works, right, that this guy works, what we can use this guy. Since, remember I said this guy works, and since that guy works, it's equal to this guy. But all we need to do is put the y squared back into this. So we get y squared, and then we're going to put this guy over here. Negative 4, x minus 2 squared, then plus 16, and this is equal to 24. Okay. So let's subtract the 16. We get y squared minus 4, x minus 2 squared, and it's equal to 8. Okay, now here's the part that we go back to our cheat sheet. Hopefully you have one for your test. And then we look. What does this look like here? So we got a y squared by itself. We have a x minus 2 squared times the number, and this is equal to 8. So it doesn't look like anything like this. That means that we have the 8, and we need to get rid of the 8 and turn it into 1. How can we do that? Well, if we divide everything by 8. So then we get y squared divided by 8 minus x minus 2 squared. 4 divided by 8 is 2. And there we go. Now this looks like something. What does this look like? So there's a minus sign in the middle. So it looks something like this. Looks actually exactly like this guy over here. So it's a vertical axis hyperbola. Now, let's use this cheat sheet better, because it's a better cheat sheet. So the y, and we note that what? That this is the one we're using, right? So we get y minus k, and we have this very similar situation, except for us, our a is square root 8. Okay. So I'm going to write here real quick the most general form next to it. So the general form is y minus, already forgot it, y minus k, a squared, minus y, I think it's x minus h squared, b squared equals 1. So we made it now look like that, so we can actually start using these formulas. Right? So here we go. And we want, let's start off with the asymptote because it's right there. So we want y minus k plus or minus a divided by b, x minus h. Let's get, okay, I actually took the initiative to write down all the formulas right here so we don't have to keep jumping back and forth between screens. Okay, so the center is h and k. Let's identify what the center is. So we see that h corresponds with x. So our case h is equal to 2. And what's k? And we see that k corresponds with y, so k is equal to 0 in our case. So we know that the center, right, our center is what? It's 2, 0. That's our center. What else? Okay, well we know that we want to find this guy, right? So let's fill in the gaps here. Well, y minus k is y minus 0, so y is simply just equal to plus or minus a over b. Now remember, this is a squared, b squared, so this is actually what? What is our a in this case? I'll write it in yellow. I'll write it right here. So a squared is equal to 8. So a is equal to square root 8. Right? And then we see that we have b squared, which is equal to 2. So then b is equal to root 2. There we go. Okay. So then if we go back, now let's fill in the a divided by b. So a divided by b, it's what? 8 over 2. Root 8 over 2. Remember, you can divide the roots in this case like that. That's how the algebra works out nicely. And then we get x minus h, and x is x. H is what? Minus 2. And then what does this become? Well, this becomes plus or minus 2. X or minus 2. There we go. So we found 2 important pieces of information. And let's label what they are. If we go back to this guy, right? That's the asymptote. And we found the center. So asymptote. And also, again, we should clarify that this is a what? What type of shape is this? This is a hyperbola, and it opens vertically. Vertical hyperbola. Vertical hyperbola. Okay. I'll try to squeeze everything in here for a second. Okay, so let's just finish up by writing the foci. The foci, we'll just call it F, right? And we see that H, in our case, H is what? H is 2. So we're just following this formula. We have 2. K is what? K is 0. Then plus or minus C. Remember, it goes... C is right here. It's A squared plus B squared. C. So you take the square root of this stuff. So it's 2 plus 8. 2 plus 8 squared. That's square root 10. I mean, it's... Let me just write it down here. I'm going to not skip steps for you guys. 2 plus 8. So then C is equal to the square root of 10. There we go. So now we'll jump back to the foci. So we get plus or minus 10. And then for our vertices, what do we get? Vertices, remember, it's foci and vertices. There's the plus or minus because there's 2 of them. Okay, remember that. Our vertices, we see that H is what? H is 2. And then K, what is K? Well, K is 0. And that's plus or minus A. What is A? A is square root 8. Okay. There we go. We found all the information we needed. Now, note that, you don't always actually find all this information because it depends on the shape, right? If you go back to this, where is it? Right? Like, these are different types of shapes, right? We don't, only for the parabola, you care about the directrix, right? Like, you don't do that for these other 2 shapes. So you got to find as much information as you can, and if you use this formula cheat sheet here, you will find all the information.